Hi, hello, I'm down here. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can make this cute striped background in your Squarespace website. What's cool about this is that it's linked up to your site styles, the colors in your site styles. So if you change these colors, it will automatically update the colors here. It's dynamic. Let's just get right into it. Let me just create a blank section here. Normally what you might do is you might think to like create this as an image in a graphics editing program like Canva, maybe something like this, and then you would export it and add it here. But the problem with that is that you would need to export the image at a really large size so that on large screens it doesn't appear blurry, and you typically want to try not to have too many really large images on your website because that just makes your website slower to load. The other thing that you could do that I've done in the past is you could just use a smaller image that is just these two stripes right here, since this would be a much smaller image size than using like a full image, right? You would just have this little image that is just two stripes, and then you can set the CSS to have it repeat this image so that it's like a repeating pattern, and it would just like have these stripes next to each other. So you could do that to get around the large file size issue, but then the other issue would be that these colors are not dynamic. It's just an image. It's not synced to your site styles in Squarespace. So if you change these colors in your color palette, you would have to go back to Canva or wherever you created this image, change the colors, export the image, re-upload it to Squarespace, change the code to use the new image. It would just be like a hassle anytime you wanted to make a color change. So I am going to show you a way to use custom CSS that links to your color palette. Let me pop out of here and go to the CSS. By the way, this is using my new template, my new Squarespace template that is called Sonder. This was the original template, and I restyled it to look like this. So there's lots that you can do with this template. Let me go into the custom code, custom CSS. So in this, if you can also jump straight to here from whatever page you're on by just typing the backslash and then type CSS, and then you can just jump there. Let me open this in a new window so that we can see it better. For all the websites that I work on, I like to add to the custom CSS this little snippet of code that basically links up these variables to the colors in your Squarespace site styles. I'm going to put the code in this other window because it's just easier for me. So these color variables each correspond to one of the colors in your color palette. So the color lightest is going to correspond to this first color, and then color light is going to be the second color, color bright is going to be the middle color, dark will be the fourth color, and then darkest is the fifth color. I mean, these are just arbitrary names that I have assigned to these variables. You can change the names of the variables if you want. That's not important here. The part that you can't change is this right here. So this is what links it to these variables right here. This is what Squarespace refers to each of these colors as. So now that we've defined these variables in our custom CSS file, we can then refer to them anytime we want to use one of these colors in custom CSS. So like if you wanted to add a border around something and you wanted to use custom CSS to do that, you can use one of these colors for the border color or something like that. And in this case, we're going to use it to make this striped background. We're going to be working on this section right here. First thing we need to do actually is find out the section ID, find which section this is. So I'm going to use the Squarespace ID Finder plugin, Chrome plugin, which if you don't know about this is a great plugin to use if you're going to be making any kind of code changes on your Squarespace website. This is a great plugin to have. Shout out to Will Myers for creating this plugin. We all love it. Once you have that Chrome plugin installed, you can just click on it to activate it, and then it will show you the IDs of all of the sections and blocks on your website. And so in this case, we're looking for the section ID, which is this long string right here. So we're just going to click on that, and it's going to copy that whole thing. And then over here in the CSS, you can just paste that. Okay, so whatever we put next is going to refer to this section right here only, and only that section. And then we're going to add dot section border dot section background. And this is going to be, let me make this bigger. So that is how we target the background of this section. So inside the brackets, we're going to add the code to generate the stripes. And in order to do that, first of all, we're going to say background : so we want to set the background to, and we're going to use a repeating linear gradient for this. So repeating linear gradient, parentheses. And inside this, the first value that we're going to put is going to be the angle that we want the lines to be. So I'm going to do 90 degrees, but you can come in, change it to like 180 or 45 if you want to like add a slant or something. And then the next color is going to be the first color. So we can just refer to one of our variables up here, right? Let's do color light. I don't remember what color light. I think it's yellow. Okay, color light. Yes. Okay, we have that. And then, so that's gonna be the first color. And then what we have to do is the same color, and then we have to say how big we want that stripe to be. So let's say 10 pixels. And then after that, we're gonna say the next color, and it's gonna start at that same point. It's gonna start at 10 pixels, and then we're gonna add. So let me just show you. So let me choose color dark. Okay, we'll do color dark. So let's do color dark, and then we're gonna set 10 pixels. Okay, and that's where it's gonna start, but then we also have to say where it's gonna end. So let's make it also 10 pixels. So that's how you get that. Wow, that's very stark. I actually don't like that at all. I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna change this to color bright. So basically you're setting the first color, and then you're saying where you want it to end. So at 10 pixels, we want it to end. And then the next color, we're saying we want it to start at that same point, 10 pixels. And that's how we get that stark contrast. Like if this was actually like 50 pixels, then you start to get this kind of like gradient effect, and we don't necessarily want that here. So to get that like stark, sharp line, you have to make sure that this is the same as this. And let me make this a little bit bigger so it's all in one line. So if you want to make the stripes a little bit bigger, like let's say you want the first color to be like a pinstripe, and then you want the second color to be like a larger band, you can set this first size to be a little bit smaller, like 3 pixels, and then make sure you also set this to 3 pixels. So these have to be the same. And then this one can be, you know, as big as you want it to be. You get that kind of effect. If you want the bands to be equal, you just have to make sure that the distance between, so basically you'd have to make sure that like, okay, if this is 50 and this is 50, then this one would have to be double that. So this one would have to be 100. So that's how you get like the bigger lines. And then again, if you wanted to change the angle to be like slanted, you can do that. Or if you wanted it to be horizontal, you can do 180 degrees. And so the cool thing about this is if we go and change our color palette here, and we change this to be like this color, it automatically updates, and you don't have to change the code. You don't have to go and generate a new image. It will just automatically use these colors. So that is how you add striped background to your Squarespace website. If you found this video helpful, make sure you remember to give it a like and leave any comments below for any other videos that you want to see me make in the future. And if you're interested in purchasing this template, check it out on my website. Okay, bye.